Welcome to Tech in the Right Direction, the podcast. Let's take tech in the right direction to drive social change and close the employment, pay, and culture gap for women in technology. This podcast is focused on helping turn ideas into action and create opportunities for women to advance in the dynamic technology industry. I hope this podcast will inspire and motivate you to encourage more women and girls to seek or grow a career as a woman in technology. Stories about the journey of amazing women in the tech field starts right now. Welcome to Tech in the Right Direction, the podcast. This week, I'll be speaking with Peggy Martinus. Peggy has been with Magenium for 10 years and in the IT industry for over 25. She offers deep insight and practical knowledge across IT sales, client solution delivery, and operations. Peggy is instrumental in leading Magenium's partnership with Microsoft. She works with the Microsoft account, technical, and program teams on behalf of their clients. In recent years, Peggy has been actively involved working with clients to align their business goals with the ever-changing technology landscape. Welcome to the show, Peggy. I'm so excited to have you on.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Great. Well, let's get started. So, Peggy, as a woman in tech, can you share with us your career journey and how you got to where you are today?
Sure. So mine might be a little interesting because I actually, many years ago, majored in computer science while I was in college. So my mom had been working, when I was in high school, and she had told me that computer science was, up and coming. And so I said, okay. So I kind of just went into it. I guess you could think somewhat blind. I didn't really know much about it. But anyway, I majored in computer science, and there were lots of, fellow females with me at Northern Illinois University, where I got my degree. So majored in computer science, and then right out of college, went right into programming. And today, the better term for that would be a coder. So I coded for and programmed for 6 years. And then from there, I was working for a consulting firm and switched gears and went into the business side, where I was actually selling technology services. And I think because I had that background and I had worked in the field, it was, I think, very beneficial to me and gave me greater success when I turned around then, because I understood what I was selling. I had a deep knowledge of it. And from there, that's just where, my career kept growing, where I then stayed within technology, but stayed within sales and sales management, and running part of an organization where, I was responsible for the Chicago office for a long time. So I've been very fortunate in my career to have that, that path. And was just loved it all and still in it today.
No, that's great. That's not a story you hear often. A lot of times people get into technology accidentally, but yours was a focused path and very similar to my path, which is really interesting. So I started out, in computer science school and got a degree in computer science as well and did coding, but it's just so interesting, how paths are similar, but sometimes you don't realize it.
Right. Because back in our day, like when I was in high school, the whole high school had, which of course now I'm very dating myself, had 2 Apple Macs, right, in the whole school. And, we're seeing more and more today, more high schools have whole computer departments, right, or, tech labs, but didn't have that. And the funny thing is, and probably for you too, Jennifer, when we were in college, we didn't have a laptop where we could do work in our room. We had to go to the lab and spend many nights there, if you remember.
Yes, I do remember, but I will date myself even further than you to tell you I started computer science classes on punch cards.
Oh,
at Northwestern, and it was just, oh my gosh, what a nightmare. But how far we've come.
Oh, thankfully, yes,
Yes, yeah.
yes, yes.
Now, this podcast is focused on bridging the employment pay and culture gap for women in technology. What are you seeing in the industry today?
It's interesting. It's been a long journey. I think, there's been great strides and great movement forward from what I'm seeing and from the organizations that I've worked with,
Hmm.
where we've tried to really take a note of being very equal in like our pay and in roles and promoting women from within. So, or, hiring women to come into the organization. So I also think, one of the things I try to do with women that work for me or women that I know, in the workplace is always, I learned a lesson once that you only get in life what you negotiate for yourself.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I always try to work with other women in saying, if you don't ask for it, you won't get it. Now, you would think and hope that you wouldn't have to ask, but I
Hmm.
don't think women in general grew up with the it's okay to ask, where,
Right.
and so I don't think it's a negative trait that men always have asked. It's my perception, that men have always, they'll ask or they negotiate. I just think it's something we weren't as I don't either made aware of or, we weren't coached like that.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, and so now I think, I hope women are learning part of it is the more, it's okay to ask for those things, to ensure or to negotiate so that there is that equal pay and recognition.
Yeah, I'm glad you're seeing that, things are getting better because with the pandemic, we took a big hit and many, many women left the workforce, not just
Hmm.
technology, but left the workforce in general, millions of women. So it seemed like we took some steps back in order to move forward.
Right. Well, right. And I guess I'm probably talking a little bit pre-pandemic,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm. Hmm.
To your point, we're going to have to encourage many of those women to come back,
Right.
right? And to jump back into the workforce, whether they're in tech or another, industry, because it is important that they stay in it.
Hmm. Hmm.
So,
Yeah,
mhm.
it's just, it's really encouraging them and showing them. And we've kind of learned that we have to start early on. We can't wait till they are completely adults to try to coax them into technology because it's too late at that point. So we really need
Mhm.
to start early on. And I know that you and I share a passion in bringing tech industry awareness to young girls. And you're doing some work around this. Can you tell us more about that?
Sure. What I try to do is it's interesting. When my own kids were in high school, I just found it so interesting when they were looking at going to college. I would ask, it's funny, I would ask girls and boys, oh, what are you going to major in? Very few, if any, ever
Hmm.
said computer science. And it was just so surprising to me. And I don't know, and I would think with the generations behind us, they've all grown up, with the iPhone and,
Hmm.
all the other devices. So I created just a deck, a PowerPoint deck to go over with, young kids why they should go into technology. I took the approach of um, I start out by showing them all of the applications or those apps and devices that have been invented
Hmm.
like since in the last 10 or 15 years.
Hmm.
It's unbelievable and amazing to see how many new things have been created in the technology field, and just to give them a different look at it so that they're maybe not thinking, oh, you have to be, you're just going to be a coder all the time, right?
Mhm.
There's
Mhm.
so many different roles you can have within the tech field. So I've spoken to, some young girls in high school. I did a presentation at an all girls school, just to kind of open their eyes to what tech can, do for them, and the
Mhm.
different career paths that are out there. So it's not been, anything, huge. It's when I can, I'm educating the young people that I personally meet, or if my friends refer them, or opportunities like that to speak at high schools in front of, young girls, young adult girls, or even if they're in junior high, just
Mhm.
to get them thinking that way.
The awareness is so important. And what kind of reaction are you getting from them when you go speak to them?
For some, it definitely like it opens their eyes and like anything, there's always a few that you can kind of tell that they're not really interested.
Mhm. Mhm.
But for many, I think it's eye-opening to go, oh, I think that they see things, and this is in general, like people, they see things and they don't realize that technology is really behind the scenes, you know, um,
Mhm.
driving whatever it is that object or that service is for them, right? Like, on their app, or if you go to the doctor or the dentist, and they're, putting a machine to x-ray you or
Mhm.
whatever, there's all software driving that.
Right. Right.
And I don't think people think that way. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, I think you and I, it's inherent to us because
Mhm.
we've just lived the last how many years of
Mhm.
seeing the great advances
Mhm.
in what technology does for others. And so it's just like you said, raising that awareness. And I think the younger we can get them, it'll be better. There's this video, it might be dated now, but I still think it's one that, like, a bunch of executives, like Bill Gates was in it, Zuckerberg was in it, NBA stars, where they talked about what coding is and how easy it is. So I think the sooner we can get young kids doing simple things with tech, it'll, I hope, grow their interest.
Yeah, I think you touched on a lot of great, great areas. One is there's an app for everything, right? I mean, there's nothing
Mm-hmm.
that I can think of that I go to my iPhone and I look for an app and I find it for everything. It's amazing. And then
Mm-hmm.
coding, it's not all about coding. Right now, you can even code with no code and low code, So and there's so many other job roles within tech that people need to realize that it's not all about coding, sitting behind a computer all day long. When I took and you took our coder training or our classroom training, it was something that we needed at that time in order
Right.
to get into technology, but not anymore. There's just so many areas: marketing, sales, research. There's just tech. Everything is technology. Technology runs our homes. It runs our lives. Like you said, the doctor's office, our healthcare, all
Mm-hmm.
of that. Yeah. So
Yes.
you
Yes.
touched on a lot of really great areas.
Well, one thing I just thought of, it's just kind of funny. I have three sisters, and one of my
Hmm.
sisters also went into computer science. She graduated, but our youngest sister, it's just funny. She used to always say to the two of us, all I know is I just don't want to do what you two do. And I know she had no idea what we did, right?
Right.
But to
Right.
her, tech was probably this foreign thing. You know what I
Hmm.
mean?
Hmm.
So I think it's just presenting it to people in a different light. One of the things I think that's most enlightening is when you tell someone, did you know the iPhone wasn't invented till 2007?
Mm-hmm.
I think people don't realize, I think people think it's been around for 30 years,
Yep. Yep.
and it hasn't,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So it's still less than 20 years old. It's actually what, less than 15 years old,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
which is amazing, you know? So,
Well, one thing I wanted to say is that I thought it was pretty cool when you said that your mom told you to go into computer science. She was
mhm.
definitely a forward thinker and understood where this world is going, the technology world. I think that's so intuitive and so great that she told you to do that.
Mm-hmm. It was good that, she was working and she heard, she asked the other people that she worked with, where are you hiring people from, and what are they majoring in? So I was very fortunate that she listened and then
Hmm.
passed that knowledge on to me.
Yeah, I love that.
Mm-hmm.
So, technology is changing so rapidly, and I know you and I both struggle sometimes to keep up. But why is it so important to stay current on technology, and what are some best practices that you use in staying relevant?
You know, it is. It's so hard, and it's so hard. We're all working, right? More
Hmm.
than 40 hours a week. We're
Hmm.
just all crazy busy in our jobs. But as I say, it's just nuggets of information just to stay current. And what I try to do just personally is, I watch for articles, that might be coming across, my email or in an
Hmm.
app. I also try to attend, business webinars. I'm fortunate enough, I'll get invited sometimes to webinars by business partners that I work with. And I always, I did learn one lesson is when I get invited to things, especially now in the day of the webinars, I'll always sign up for it. And then assuming my schedule allows, I'll join, or then at least I'll have access to the recording.
Hmm.
And I think it's important, first, you and I are both in the tech field, so it's actually, very important or vital to our careers that
Right.
we stay that way. And it's also important as leaders in our organization that we provide that knowledge to our coworkers and colleagues as well.
Hmm.
Um, I just think because tech is driving everything, the more you can try to stay a step ahead or not more than 4 steps behind, I think
Hmm.
you're in good shape.
Yeah, no, that's true. But you just have to make a conscious effort
Mm-hmm.
to read those emails, to join those webinars, to listen to,
Mm-hmm.
webcast or whatever, to listen to some of those recordings, because life happens if you don't set the time aside to do it. And it's very difficult, with the pace of life today.
Right. One other thing that I do when I attend these, I've learned to take notes.
Hmm.
So I do that because I can't remember everything,
Me either.
so much comes in and out. I always tell people, hey, if I don't write it down, it isn't going to happen, right? Because you get pulled in so many directions. So I can't tell you how many times, I've sat on webinars, I'll take notes and then I go back and refer to them.
Hmm.
So, it's a best practice of mine. It might help others, but I do think it's beneficial to, take notes, and I use just one note to do that. And then I can
Hmm.
always have it to go back and look, refer back to.
Yeah. Oh boy, I need notes as well. I will never remember because when you go to back meetings, I'm like, who did I
Hmm.
talk to that said this?
Right.
I can't remember. So yeah, good
Nope.
notes are definitely very important.
Did you know that there is an increase in the number of women leaving the tech industry? As a woman owned business, Directions Training has made it our mission and passion to change this statistic. That's why Jennifer created this podcast. We showcase insight from everyday women for everyday women in the tech industry. Do you know other people that would benefit from tuning in? Share the link and help us drive the advancement of women in the tech industry. Do you have a journey or know of someone that our listeners would benefit from hearing about? Reach out to us at directionstraining.com/podcast. Don't forget to follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and wherever you find your podcasts. Now, back to the show.
So, with the pandemic and people working remotely, let's talk about what you think the future of work looks like. Do you think there's a hybrid workplace coming up in our future, or do you think people will all go back into the office? What are your thoughts?
Well, I think hybrid is just going to be the way of the future. I don't even think it'll be called hybrid. I think it'll just be, hey, this is what work is today. I think we're all seeing it already as companies are really trying to encourage, getting people to go back into the office. I personally think that the hybrid work it's not a bad thing. And I just really encourage people. I do agree with, some of the CEOs and leaders that have been coming out that are encouraging it's some form of hybrid where you go in at least 1, 2, or 3 days a week, because there is so much to gain by that personal interaction. But when you allow organizations to have that flexibility, or employees, I should say, to have that flexibility, I think they're very happy with that. The one thing I will tell you that I'm really starting to see is, people don't want to just go back to the office and work individually and be on a video call all day, right?
Right.
Because
they could stay at home and do that, right?
Exactly. So they're looking at it going, well, I could just sit in my house, because clearly that's worked for the last 12 to 18 months. I've worked out of my house and I could do meetings there. So what we're seeing, or what I'm seeing, is, more and more organizations are, making modifications to or they have plans to, right, long term. You can't do it overnight, to encourage coming back to the office space where you're going to meet with others, right? Making more collaborative spaces. So you might do some meetings individually when you go back to the office, but it'll give you that opportunity to work more in groups and collaborate with others, because that's what people are missing when they're at home.
I completely agree. And I think hybrid is going to be some form of hybrid, and what they're going to call it, who knows, but some form of going back to that personal interaction. Like you said, it is so critical for us, for our thinking, for our process, for innovation, for new ideas. It's really tough to do virtually in a group, so I think that's definitely needed. But yeah, I think, individual work can be done very successfully remotely. You don't have to be physically in an office, because I really believe, and I learned this many years ago when I first started to run a remote company. I said, the people who are going to work no matter where they are. And the people who are not going to work, they could be in a cubicle and they're not going to work. They're going to be playing games or doing whatever, So if you're worried about that, the office environment does not change it at all. It's the person. So hire the right people, the right seat on the bus, make sure that they are producing, and they'll produce anywhere they are.
Correct. And I also think as leaders, we have to also be able to identify those that might need more of that cultural interaction, to build that. Because I totally agree with you that it is the individual person, and they'll work wherever. I do think that when we're hiring, the young people coming out of college, right? I think sometimes everyone thinks that all they want to do is work at home. And I think the answer is yes for a percentage of that. But I also think there's a percentage that really do like that, want to be part of a team, right?
Right.
And want to have that interaction. So I think it's going to be management, leaders and management to be identifying that and putting programs in place for encouraging that, having that right balance. I mean, it's not going to be easy, but that's what we're all going to have to balance.
Right, right. Because now everybody's demanding to work remotely. So you have to
Right.
have that balance and see what areas need people in the office and what areas they can work, independently. So yeah, it'll be
Correct.
very interesting to see. So in
Hmm.
addition to all the business stuff that you do every day, you're also a community leader of the IAMCP, which is a nonprofit that works with Microsoft Partner Channel. Share
Hmm.
with us your passion on diversity and inclusion in the workplace and what things you're doing to make a difference.
Yes, very passionate about that. I'm really happy to see just the industry in general make that a focal point as well.
Hmm.
And you and I, Jennifer, both work, closely with Microsoft, and
Hmm.
they're a great organization that has put that at the forefront for their company. And I have many clients that are doing that. In the IAMCP, it's a great organization, and it has allowed us to work with so many partners of so
Hmm.
many different sizes and so many geos. And it gives you that ability to work with a lot of different, individuals. We're actively in our local chapter trying to stay involved with that as much
Hmm.
as we can. My organization has hired someone earlier this year, and part of their job responsibilities is to ensure that we're educating people, and then hiring, making sure that we look at a vast candidate pool. Everyone
Hmm.
still needs to be qualified for the job,
Right, right.
but really looking at that vast pool of, or could we be posting jobs maybe in a location that we hadn't thought of before?
Hmm. Hmm.
So anything we can do, to encourage that, we are, in the different facets that I'm involved with.
No, that's great. You're making a conscious effort. You have somebody focusing on it because,
Mhm.
there's some amazing stats that show that diverse workforces are more profitable, retention is higher, people are engaged more, because you're getting different points of view, you're getting different thought processes that if everybody was the same, you wouldn't have.
Absolutely. It,
So,
it
yeah.
is just so good to get different perspectives or
Mhm.
different thoughts on one idea.
But at least you have an open mind and your company is making strides in that area because we talk a lot about unconscious bias and we all have biases. Doesn't matter
Hmm.
who you are. And the biases come from where you grew up, what school you went to, your education, your friends, your family, all of those things influence your life. But to have an open mind and say, wow, that is just a bias just because that's all I've seen. It's not
Right.
the way it really is. And it's amazing to create that awareness. And I think you guys are doing an amazing job with that. So thank you for that.
Hmm.
So, being a woman in tech, what challenges have you faced and how have you overcome them?
It's funny. I've thought about that, and I have to tell you, for the most part, I feel that I've been very fortunate to work for very open-minded organizations,
Hmm.
never really feeling like I was held back. Probably, I would say the only challenge maybe is, when I came out of school and being viewed as someone that could do the coding or the programming,
Hmm.
because that's what I did for the first 6 years of my career. um, but other than that, I've been very fortunate, and I know that isn't the same story for many others,
Hmm.
but I have been fortunate to have excellent leaders that I've worked for, mentors, and and opened doors and gave me opportunities, and didn't get everything that, you might have applied for, but definitely felt like I was given good opportunities,
That's
and so.
great. That's
Mhm.
great to know that, because I felt the same way through my career as well. But many times I felt like I was the only woman in the room. Have you
Mm.
experienced that?
Oh, that has happened many times,
Right, right.
And it's funny, I was talking with one of my female coworkers, and I think because that was the case for so many years, it doesn't appear anymore to be that different to me, right?
Right,
And so
right.
you pointed out, and I'm like, oh yeah, you are right. And it still does happen at
Hmm.
times, not as much, as it used to, but you're
It's not
right.
as apparent, right? Because we're
Right.
used to it.
We're used to it. We're used to it, and we just go with the flow, and we just, move on. Doesn't phase us. We
Hmm.
continue on with our work. And but, for the longest time, definitely in tech, we were, you might be at a conference of, 200, and maybe we were, 10%, but now, it's greater. The number
Right.
is definitely greater.
Going, yeah. No, that's great to see. And maybe one day it'll be a 50-50 split,
Hmm.
That's what we're going for. Um,
Yes.
so leadership is so critical in business, and we all learn as we go through our career. What are some lessons or leadership skills that you've learned through your career?
So, a couple of things I would say. One is, I've been in the services industry my whole career. So I'm a big proponent of, the people that you work with. Like you're only, as good as the team that you're
Hmm.
working with. The,
Hmm.
the people that you work with, and if you're fortunate enough to be in a leadership role, taking care of the people that work for you, to me, is critical, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Because that's what makes an organization. It's the people. And so with that, it's being that focused on the employee as well as customer service. So one of those, so I'm just very passionate about that. Other like leadership skills, I would say, is decisiveness.
Hmm.
Sometimes you find people, you know, y- you're never going to make all the right decisions. So it's
So
okay to
make
be
one.
decisive, make a decision. And then if
Right.
it's the wrong one, then okay, what's
Yep.
plan
You
B?
learn
Right?
from it
So
and you move on.
you can move on. But
Hmm.
probably my most favorite one is, I'm definitely in the positivity, the glass is half full.
Hmm.
People people want to be around other positive people, and I think as a leader, you want people to be around you and to work with you. So, I just have this, it's probably maybe a positive attitude
Hmm.
is, I think, critical in the workplace, because you are spending so much time together.
Right.
You're everybody that you're working with for long periods of time, for weeks and days on end, right?
Hmm.
So it's great when you have a positive attitude. And then I think that just, emulates to your team and just makes for a good, positive work environment.
I love that, because your positive attitude then comes down to the team and they are then positive. If you have
Mm-hmm.
energy and positivity, then they're
Mm-hmm.
going to emulate that. And it's so important for leaders to do that, because, I always say I can never have a bad day. I'm always like, oh, I'm great. No matter if I am or not, I'm great. I have a
Right.
positive attitude. Everything else is checked at the door. I have to come in and I have to lead this team, and so
Mm-hmm.
if I'm doom and gloom, they're going to be doom and gloom.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And that's why I think when you come in with that positive attitude and the energy, people feed off that.
Right. Right. Absolutely. I feel the same way. Like when I talk
Mm-hmm.
to people that are energetic, I feel more energetic. And if I feel, if I'm talking to somebody that's just monotone or just, going slowly, then I mimic that, behavior.
Right.
So it's very true, very true.
Right.
So great, great,
Right.
great thoughts on leadership skills. So
Mm-hmm.
let's switch to travel, because you and I always talk about travel, and
Mm-hmm.
you've traveled a lot, and so I'm going to ask you, what's your most favorite place that you've traveled to and why?
So, this is a little bit on the tough side because I've been fortunate, to have gone many places.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But, you know, what I do love, where I love to travel is when I can, go west to the mountains.
Mm.
I mean, I just love being able to go out to, mountain country. Lately one of my most favorite places is really going to Park City, being able to
Mm-hmm.
ski out there, hike out there. So and lately, I'm on this kick, it's nice to visit national parks.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't been to many. I've been to one or two, and so now I'm trying to do more of that. But it's beautiful country, when
Mm-hmm.
you get to go to these mountainous regions and you just really get to take your mind off work and recharge the battery. So, um, it's funny. It's the mountains or it's Hawaii. It's like
Yeah,
my
yeah.
favorite because,
That's your peaceful places. That's where you get peace.
yes,
That's where you get energy. That's
right,
amazing. I love that.
right. Where's yours?
I also have been fortunate to travel, and I am very much like attracted to warmer weather,
Right.
So wherever there is warmth, and you said Park City, it's so funny. I went to Park City in the summer, and I loved,
Mm-hmm.
loved, loved Park City, but I saw it from a different lens than you, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But so I would say one of my favorite places that I've traveled to is Italy. We just
Mm-hmm.
had an amazing, amazing time there because we had three-course meals and never gained an ounce because we walked everywhere, It was amazing.
Right.
I loved it. I loved it. Thanks for asking. So, in closing, Peggy, what advice would you give to our listeners or women that are thinking of, um, you know, starting a career in technology?
You know, I would just say to women, um, stay positive.
Mhm.
Always remember the glass is half full. It's not always going to be easy,
Mhm.
but that's okay because there'll be another day. And just always remember that you've got great value and talents. And if you find yourself in a situation where it just really isn't, the right fit for you, don't be afraid to make a move. Don't be afraid to stay somewhere. I've been lucky. I've stayed at the companies I've worked with for long periods of time, but it's okay to make a move if you need
Mhm.
to. So
Mhm.
it's really just look at things as the glass is half full and just stay the course and work hard and good things will come.
Yeah.
Good people get recognized um and like I said, if you're in a situation where it's not, then find one that will be better for you. Don't be afraid to make that move to that next career, and don't be afraid to ask. If you don't ask or tell somebody what you would like to do, then no one will know.
Right. Right.
No
No,
one will be
that's
able to
great.
help you, right?
Right. Right. That's
You
such
know,
great advice. Such great advice.
hmm yes,
And
because
nothing
when,
good comes easy,
mhm.
so you have to work hard.
Yes, you do. Well, it's always like, in our career, Jennifer, we've worked with, had many friends, everything. And sometimes when people are looking for new jobs, or sometimes there's a downsizing and someone loses their job, people sometimes they feel like a stigma, and it's like, oh no, tell everybody, because someone will help you. That's why I'm a big proponent of don't be afraid to tell people and talk to people, because people are always willing to help you and network, right? Network. I didn't bring that up, but networking is very important too.
Yeah, build a community of your network that will help you. And people are all willing to help and ready to help. We have to ask.
Right. Just ask. Exactly. Building the community is spot on.
Yeah, no, that's great. Well, Peggy, this was such a pleasure. As always, I can talk to you for hours, so would love to have you on a show in the future. But thank you. Thank you so much for your time. It was an honor and just a pleasure to spend time with you. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you. I really enjoyed it. Thanks again.
Thank you for listening to Tech in the Right Direction. Please take a minute to subscribe or follow so that you never miss an episode. Also, don't forget to like, share, and comment. Thank you. See you next week.
From IT skill enhancements to end-user adoption training, Directions Training is your resource to help optimize the effectiveness of your technology investments. Over 500,000 students have taken advantage of our wide selection of technology and business training solutions, covering the most popular applications today, such as Microsoft 365, Azure, Windows 10, and more. As a podcast listener, we invite you to take advantage of an exclusive offer. Receive 30 days of free access to our Microsoft official curriculum on-demand courses for IT professionals or end users. Visit us at www.directionstraining.com/podcast to claim this offer today. Hurry, this offer is only available for a limited time. Success is a journey. Ask for directions.